Hello everyone, this is Mr. Grogan, and this video will cover the budget project that you'll be doing in this class. It will be the final real assignment that you'll be doing in this class. Um, and this project will count for more than the other assignments that we've done this quarter. This will be kind of a basic overview of what we've done throughout the semester, because there will be some elements that we'll be covering in this project that will involve saving, taxes, renting and owning, uh, paying for school, and insurance. All right, and so it's really like the stuff that gets covered is pretty much everything that we've done throughout this semester. All right. And this will take you longer to do than the other assignments that we have done this quarter. Uh, like I said, we'll be working on it all this week and most, if not all, of next week as well. All right. And what I'm going to do is that there are two components to this, and this video will go over the salary-based budgeting worksheet, all right, and the slideshow on a salary-based budget. I'm going to create a separate video that will briefly go over the reflection questions, but the real meat of this project will be in the worksheet that you're going to be creating. When you open this up on Google Classroom, all right, you'll see three files on there: a slideshow, Google Sheets, and a Google Doc. Okay. This video will cover what's on the slides and on the sheets. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to have a couple of tabs open. All right. You want to have the slideshow. Okay. Which is create a salary-based budget. All right. And you want to have the salary-based budget worksheet up. Okay. Which is this right here. And once you open it up, you want to make sure that you go to File, make a copy of the worksheet only. Okay. You don't have to make a copy of the Google slideshow, but make sure that you make a copy of the worksheet. All right. All right. All right. I've already done that. Okay. The reason being is the worksheet you're going to be editing. All right. And the directions to fill this out are on here. All right. On the slideshow. So as I said, you want to make sure that you have a tab set up for the Google slideshow, the create a salary-based budget, and you want another tab up for the worksheet, because in the worksheet, you want to make sure that you're making a copy, that you've already made a copy of it, because you're going to be editing it as we go along. All right. It is important that you make the copy of the worksheet, because as you'll see when you're filling out the information on column D, there are already some formulas that have been put in on column D, which will make make budgeting a little bit easier for you. All right. So what we're going to do is the directions here are on the slideshow. And what you're going to do is you're really going to be working your way down on the slideshow. There's a lot of slides on here. Okay. Not all of them will be applicable to you, but if you follow along on this video, it will show you, what you need to do. There are a couple of slides that you can pretty much skip, but it really depends on how you choose to fill it out. All right. And you'll see what I mean when we really dive right into it. Okay. So one thing I do want to caution is that while I'm going to be going through this, all right, your budget is going to come out different than this. Okay. In particular, because you're going to, a lot of this depends on what kind of career path you want to go down. All right. And I'm going to go over that in a minute, but depending on the career field that you want to get into, all right, that will determine how much money you are going to make at that job. And once you determine how much you're going to be making on a monthly or even weekly basis, at that point, you can really start to get to the nuts and bolts of your budget. Okay. So what you're going to do, all right, once you have both this up and the spreadsheet up, okay, we're going to start to go work our way down on the slideshow. All All right. And the directions are on the slideshow. And you'll notice that a lot of it will match up with what's on here. Okay. So I wouldn't, with the first three columns here, I would strongly advise that you don't edit them. Like you don't like delete any rows or delete any columns, because if you do, there's going to be some problems that you're going to run into when you're filling this out. So I would strongly recommend that you don't edit anything on the first three columns, or on any of the don't edit anything at all. Okay. Basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be entering in data on column D. All right. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. So, all right. So when we jump in, we're going to jump into, we're going to skip slide 2 because at this point, we've already done that. All right. So we go into slide 3. Okay. Slide 3 is going to have a website that you're going to open up. And it's what we're going to do here is that we're going to determine what kind of career field that we are interested in. And we're going to then go into how much money you would make at that job. And then at that point, you'd be able to determine, the money that you're going to set aside for the things that you have to spend on. Okay. So I'm going to click open the Salary Data and Career Research Center. All right. Now you may want to do a little bit of research on this website. There's a lot of websites on there that give you a general idea how much people in a certain career field make. But this one kind of gives you, a lot of different options here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You might want to spend a little bit of time on this. Just kind of getting a general idea what career field you might be interested in and how much they actually pay. All right. So I'm just going to, for me, I'm just going to go and pick an accountant. Okay. And just a simple accounting job. All right. And an accountant generally gets paid fairly well, especially if they've been in the field for a long time and they've generated a lot of experience. Okay. Now, what I would recommend doing, okay, is that whatever career field you choose, all right, I hate to say it, but you're probably going to be when they're going to give you a range. Okay, each career field's going to give you a range, and I hate to say it, but you're probably not going to be starting out on the higher end here. All right, more than likely you are going to start on the lower end of the median. Okay, this is the average. An accountant's average salary. The data is probably based over the last year or so. It's $51,577 a year. Okay, you're going to be on the lower end. Okay. Maybe not at 40,000, but definitely not going to be at 70,000. All right. That's to start off with. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, I'm going to put it at 45,000. Okay. And the reason why I'm picking that number is just because this is something that's data that's accumulated for everyone in the United States, and the cost of living can vary a little bit from state to state. In Rhode Island and in much of the Northeast, the cost of living is a little bit higher. So the salaries generally start off a little bit higher than the bottom. All right. If you were to move out into like the deep South or in the Midwest, the cost of living there is lower. All right. But your salary would probably be slightly lower. I mean, the difference is like a couple $1,000s a year, but it is something to take into consideration. So I'm going to say it's on the lower end. I'm going to say 45,000. All right. That's just a good start off. So the annual gross wage, okay. And the annual gross wage, that's how much money you make before taxes get taken out. So I'm going to put 45,000. All right. Okay. Now, again, if I were to choose a career as an accountant, all right, if I were to work in that field about 10, 15 years, I'd probably be making over the median amount. But for right now, I'm going to start below the median. All right. So we have that. We have 45,000. Okay. So now What we're then going to do, okay, all right, we go into the next slide, all right, and it says to calculate your monthly gross wage, okay? The gross wage, it gives you the formula there. It's basically just taking the gross amount that you get paid in a year, divide it by 12. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the 45,000 and definitely you'll need a calculator for this. All right. So you take 45,000 and I'm just going to divide it by 12. And it turns out the gross wage is $37.50. All right. Okay. All right. Now, so I enter in $37.50 on this row right here. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. All right. When you get onto the salary paycheck calculator, all right, what you have to do is that there's some general information here that you're going to need to implement. Okay. And the directions for it, if you go on the slide 5 here, all right, I know it's a little tough to read, but do what you can. You're going to pick Rhode Island, obviously. Okay. Rhode Island charges a little bit higher has a higher tax rate than other states. Okay. But as I said, it does vary per state. Okay. All right. And so that's why we're going to select Rhode Island. Okay. Now the gross pay, we're going to put the monthly gross pay, $37.50. Okay. And I got that $37.50 from up here, it's line 3 here. Okay. Now, and then the gross pay method, okay, we're going to put per pay period, okay, and the pay frequency, I'm going to put it as biweekly, all right. Actually, no, sorry, monthly. Let's put it as a monthly thing here. Unless you're married, you're going to put single for a federal filing status. The number of federal allowances, put 1 unless you have a dependent child that you want to claim, all right. If not, just put 1. All right. Leave everything else as is and then calculate. Now, when you calculate, you may have to scroll up a little bit, but this will give you a breakdown of how much gets taken out in taxes. All right. You have the federal, FICA, Medicare, Social Security, state taxes. All right. And it shows the net pay. So it's $29.22. So it's basically about, if the course of a month, you get about $800 taken out in taxes. Okay. I mean, obviously some of it like Medicare and Social Security, that does, it is a benefit that you do get from the government. But it's a benefit you won't see until you're in your 60s. Okay. Right. But yeah, the federal taxes, that's the state taxes. And, the more that you make, the more that's going to get taken out in taxes. All right. So that's so while you're making more money, that's all well and good. A little bit more, the more you make, the more that gets taken out in taxes. It's a fact of life. All right. So what we're going to do is that this $2,922.82, I am going to put that. What do we have here? It's $29.22.82. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to round it up to $29.83. Okay. And that $22,983, you'll notice that once I enter that on line 4 here, line 8 will have will come up with $2,983. That's the monthly amount for budgeting. Okay. So that's that's all well and good. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go into the savings. The next couple of slides go into savings. Okay. Now, when we get to slide 6 here for step 5, this was one of the first concepts that we went into back in September, the concept of paying yourself first, of putting aside money for saving. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to choose one of the percents below and calculate how much you're going to be saving off your net salary. Okay. Now there's a couple of different ways you can do this. All right. You can use the percentages. Okay. Or you could just set aside, like I'm going to set aside $100 a month. Okay. The more the merrier, but as you'll see, unfortunately, depending on your, on the life happens, and there are times where you're not going to end up saving as much as you would like. All right. So I'm going to start off, unfortunately, I'm going to start off a little low here. I'm going to go with 5%. Okay. This says 10%, but we can increase later. All right. As a good goal, but we'll start off with 5%. All right. So 5% of what they want you to do is take your net wage monthly and multiply it by the savings. So I'm going to just take 37. Hold on here. The net wage monthly, you're going to take this dollar figure right here, the $2,983. All right. And I'm going to multiply it by 0.05. Oops. All right. So that's going to be 149. 149 in a monthly savings account. Okay. Better than nothing. Okay. Now, the next slide, was going to start saving for retirement. Okay. Now, this is, unfortunately, we didn't really get into much into investing, but I'm going to say that, you can invest in like IRAs, or sometimes a company will have a 401k plan. All right. Either which way, if there's a savings vehicle besides just a savings account that's available to you, take it. All right. So what we're going to do is that we're going to set aside 5% towards saving for retirement. So I'm going to take this 149 that I have on line 5, and I'm going to put it for line 6 as well. All right. So that means, yeah. And you'll notice that line 7 becomes $298. Okay. So that's $300 a month roughly on savings is that's pretty good. Okay. Considering on how much you make. Okay. All right. Now, notice that the amount for budgeting goes down a little bit. Okay. It's already down to $2,685. Okay. And that's because we've taken this $2,983. All right. And we've set aside $298 for savings. So now it leaves us a monthly budget of about $2,685. Okay. Now, and then the next slide, which is step 7, we just did that. Okay. Now, all right. Slide 9, which is like step 8. Okay. It calculates the amount you have to budget. All right. Let's see. Yeah, we already did that one. Okay. Now, when you get to slide 10, this goes into rent. All right. This slide. All right. Now, there's 3 different ways you could go about it. Okay. That gives you 3 options. All right. Option A, live at home. Option B, live in an apartment or house by yourself. Or option C, live in an apartment or house with roommates. Okay. Now, you can determine which one you want to go towards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select option B here. Live in an apartment or house by yourself. Okay. Now, I understand that many of you will be in a different situation. Okay. I would assume that most of you will either A, may want to live with roommates or may choose to live at home. Some of you would want to live in a house or an apartment by yourself. Okay. So, all right. Now, whatever option you choose, all right, the next few slides, you have to read carefully. Okay. Now, because I'm choosing option B here, living in an apartment or a house by yourself. Okay. I'm going to skip 9A. All right. All right. Because that's if I chose to live with parents. Okay. This would probably be the cheaper option for most. Okay. When you graduate high school, some parents may let you live there, but they may start charging you rent. Okay. Some may let you live rent-free. I'm not, everyone's different. So I'm not, that's why I'm not picking the live at home option here. Okay. But for some of you, that might be what you're planning on doing. If you are planning on doing that, then choose this option. Okay. But I'm going to be, as I said, I'm going to choose the option B, all right, which is living in an apartment or house by yourself. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is that there's another website here called Rent Jungle, and I'm going to click on that. And this one's different than the apartments.com site that we used on the rental site, the rental assignment that we did a couple months ago. All right. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to find an actual place. All right. But this is just to kind of give you a general idea. This is more of a give you a ballpark figure how much you're going to be spending on an apartment. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that it's going to be in Providence. I'm going to put Providence, Rhode Island. Okay. And I'm going to live it by myself. So I'll just pick a studio. All right. And most studios you could get, they're between 500 and 1,000. All right. I'm going to go 750 to 1,000. This is all right. And let's see. And actually, no, this does not good. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to pick, as I said, a studio. I'm going to put a rent range here. We'll put it at 500 to 1,000. All right. Bed, you only need one. All right. Actually, studio, we'll go with that. All right. And then filter by price. Do it that way. Okay. All right. So yeah, there's some that are at 550, 600. All right. Again, I'm not really going to look at too deeply into this, into each particular apartment. I'm just trying to get a ballpark figure. All right. So, I'm going to say, let's see. Well, let's go. And it gives you ones for Providence, Cranston, East Providence. Okay. All right. And so we'll pick the one that's 600. All right. Even though it's in Cranston. All right. Let's go with that one. All right. So 600. All right. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to take monthly rent. We're going to put it 600. All right. Now, okay. All right. So now I'm going to go to the next one. This slide 13, because I selected option B, I'm going to skip option C. Although if you picked option C back on slide 10, then you want to follow the directions that are on slide 13. Okay. So now, if you choose that option C, okay, you have to figure out like how many people you're going to be living with, like one person, two people. All right. And then whatever costs, you're going to use that same Rent Jungle website and find like a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. Okay. And then the cost of the rent is going to be split. If you have one roommate, it's going to be split 2 ways. If you have 2 roommates, it's going to be split 3 ways. Okay. All right. Now we go to slide 14, renter's insurance. Okay. Renter's insurance, I would say set aside, $20 for renter's insurance. All right. That seems about reasonable. It might be a little on the high side, but it's not a bad idea to have renter's insurance. Renter's insurance, it will protect your items if they get lost or stolen in your apartment. All right. Now, the next slide deal with utilities. Okay. Now, if you are living with family, you may be expected to chip in full or partial amounts. I would say go half, or if maybe a third of it. Okay. And if you are living with roommates, you can split some of the costs. Okay. You can just split it by the number of people. Okay. All right. But if you're living on your own, you got to pay the full cost. All right. So, and that's the one that I chose. All right. So I'm going to be paying the full cost here. So on the next slide here, which is step 11B, utilities. Now, Now for cable and satellite, this one is a little bit tough to determine because some people don't have cable. I mean, I've pretty much cut the cord on cable for me. But if you have like Netflix and a few other things, you might want to total it up and, you know, um, if you think that you can survive on that, on Netflix and maybe one or two other services, you can just take how much you pay a month there and add to it. Okay. I'm going to select basic cable here. All right. Even though for me personally, I technically don't have cable, but I have a couple of other things, that go into my monthly bill. So maybe $80 seems about right. All right. So what I'm going to do is for the cable satellite, I'm going to put 80. All right. Internet, average cost here is $38. Yeah. All right. Okay. Home phone. If you choose to have a home phone, that's great. If not, you can skip that one. All right. As long as you have a phone. Okay. I'm going to say that most, if not all of you, will probably have a mobile phone or a cell phone. Okay. So for cell phone, you just use the voice and data. I'm going to say that if you have a cell phone, it's probably a voice and data plan. So I'm going to put 75 there. Okay. And electricity and gas, this is a biggie. Okay. The average cost for gas and electric, yeah, it's put 163. All right. Now keep in mind that it's probably at this time of year, the heating bills is probably, it's probably more than 160 a month because of the heat. Okay. During the summer, it may not be, probably won't be anywhere near this dollar amount, but during the winter, it could be pretty high. All right. So 163, it averages out. All right. So we'll put the 163. Now keep in mind for this cost of living, if you're living with, let's say if you're living with two roommates, okay, you split the rent, split the cable, split the internet. All right. And split the electricity and gas. Okay. Obviously the phone, if you have a home phone, okay, you could split the cost of that, but the mobile phone, you're not splitting. Okay. Because I'm sure that, if you have one or two roommates, I'm sure that they have phones of their own. Okay. So all of these, except for the mobile phone, you could split the cost of if you're planning on living with roommates. All right. So cost of living there, I have it at 976. Okay. All right, we go down to the next slide. Okay, that calculates your total monthly budget for the cost of living. All right, I already did that. So now we go to slide 18, which is step 13. Now, this involves automobiles. Okay, how do you get from one place to another? All right, and this one, you're going to determine whether you're going to rely on public transportation or if you're going to get a car. Okay. So if you're living in a city that allows you to get where you need via public transportation, you don't want to have a car at all, you can use one of the figures here. Now, if you are using public transportation now, go with how much you think you would spend using RIPTA. Okay. But keep in mind that if you're using RIPTA right now, okay, maybe 5 years from now, you don't want to be using it. Maybe you want to have your own car 5 years from now. So I would suggest that you would maybe not use the public transportation option here. But if you are only going to use public transportation, you're going to skip to step 18. But if you're using RIPTA now, you may not want to be using RIPTA 5, 6, 7 years from now. All right. Just saying. Okay. So now we go to car payment. All right. Now, if you're going to have a car, choose from one of the following car payments. All right. I would say go on the lower end here, a 3-year loan, 4.75%. I'd say use one of the lower ones. Okay. So I'm going to use this one right here, the $240 a month. All right. All right. Now, when you're filling this out, I'm going to put a 0 here for public transportation because I'm not going to use it. All right. Car payment, we'll put $240 a month. All right. Car insurance. All right. That's this slide here. Car insurance, assume between 164 and 333 a month. Okay. You must be insured. If you have a car, and I've gone over this, all right. If you have a car, it must be insured. Okay. Now, I'm going to put 164. Unfortunately, for many of you, for younger drivers, you're going to start out on the high end. I mean, for me personally, I don't pay 100. I pay less than 164 a month for car insurance. But when you're in your early 20s, you're going to be paying quite a bit for car insurance. Okay, it's not cheap. Okay, because the reason being is that younger drivers tend to get into more accidents, right, and they're more prone to speeding and whatnot. So. It's even if you're a good driver, you're still going to pay a lot for car insurance. Okay. All right. But just keep in mind that it's the longer that you're driving, and, the more, as long as you stay away from causing car accidents or getting speeding tickets, the insurance rate will go down over time. All right. But it's going to start off on the high side. All right. Car maintenance. Again, this assume $100 per month. Some months are going to be zero, but some are going to be more than that. All right. If you have a used car that has a lot of miles on it, you're probably going to have to set aside $100 a month for that, for sure. So I'm going to set $100 a month. All right. The car maintenance, that's a variable cost. I mean, some months you're not going to spend any at all on car maintenance. Other months it'll be a lot more than $100, but it's averages out. Okay. Gas, that's another variable. Okay. It's a variable for two reasons. One of which is that some months you may drive a lot, other months you may not drive as much at all. Okay. Also, the price of gas plays a role too. The price fluctuates from week to week oftentimes. Usually in the summertime, the price of gas is a little more expensive. During the winter months, gas is usually a little bit cheaper. Okay. So when you get to gas, that's slide 21 here. All right. That's step 17. Estimate how many miles you drive per day and use this chart to find your gas prices. And it's based on the gas price being $2.55 a gallon, and that your car gets about a little more than 23 miles per gallon. Okay. The 255, I know like right now the gas prices are not $2.55 a gallon, but and so it is on the high side. The $2.55 is on the high side, and right now, and unless you use premium gas, but 6 months from now, it might be $2.55 a gallon might be a low price. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask, if you think you're going to drive 25 per day, the monthly cost is going to end up being about $81. Okay. So if you want to use this figure, if you're planning on just driving around in the city, all right, 81 seems reasonable. All right. So I'm going to put 81 here. Okay. Now notice that the total cost of transportation is $585 a month. Okay. Just by owning a car. Okay. All right. When you factor in the payment, the insurance, the maintenance, and the gas, this is for the most part on the lower end. Okay. It costs a lot to have a car. All right. And yeah, you can use public transportation, but, if you want to venture outside of Providence, all right, you're going to need a car. Okay. In Providence, yeah, okay. You can get to where you want to go using RIPTA, but if you wanted to go to like Newport or whatever, yeah, you could still use RIPTA for that, but it makes it a lot more difficult. All right. So that's just something to keep in mind. Next section, groceries. All right. All right. So the next slide here, slide 22, just step 18, we've already did that. When we get to step 19, okay, we got to choose a meal plan we're likely to follow for the cost of groceries. Okay. Now, this is based on studies. Okay. But the reality is, for the most part, men tend to eat more than women do. Okay. So the cost of food for men is going to be a little bit more. All right. So, and these are based on studies. Okay. All right. So I'm going to, I'm going to select the low cost. Okay. 242. All right. Um, it's, so I'm going to pick the 242 option, the low cost. All right. Now the dining out. Now this is a very this one, when it comes to dining out, this can be, this can drain a budget really fast. Okay. If you're someone that likes to go out like 3 or 4 nights a week for food, all right, you're going to end up paying quite a bit. All right. And it can drain your finances very quickly. All right. So I'm going to pick this option here. All right. 2 meals a week. Yeah. $15 a meal. You end up about $120 a month. All right. So, okay. And that's the total cost of food. Okay. Now, again, if you're someone that likes to go out to eat a lot, all right, you may have to, if you want to be honest, all right, you may want to pick on, the higher side here. But if you think you can hold it to like going out to eat like twice a week, yeah, that's, at $15 a meal. All right. But if you like fine dining, then you're going to have to pick something from over here. Okay. And chances are you're probably, you're going to end up spending quite a bit of money over the course of a month if you dine out. All right. Now, the next slide is basically, it already does it for you. Okay. So you have that figure there. Now, the next section is health insurance, or just insurance in general. Okay. This can be quite a bit. All right. Now, if you work for a job that pays, that will not pay for your health insurance, but it provides health insurance. Okay. You're not sending out a check every month to your insurance agency for health. Okay. It usually gets deducted from your paycheck if you work for an employer that provides health insurance. Okay. And keep in mind that you are covered. Most people are covered for health insurance up until the age of 25. Okay. But once you get past the age of 25, then you're responsible for your own health care. Okay. But keep in mind that most, for those that work part-time right now, chances are your employer probably doesn't provide health insurance. Okay. And, when you're starting out in the working world, even some full-time jobs don't provide health insurance. Okay. But, if you've worked at a place for a while, or, if you have a career path and a bachelor's degree, chances are you'll be able to find a job that has health insurance. Okay. So some of these costs may not like, may be factored into your paycheck, but we're going to assume that it's not. All right. So what we're going to do is, we're going to take this $9.99 a year and we're going to divide it by 12. All right. If you take $9.99 and divide it by 12, it'll be 83. So $83 for health insurance. All right. And then step 23 and 24 are on this slide too. Put 25 for dental and 25 for vision. Okay. If you don't wear glasses, then I guess you could probably leave eye insurance out if you really want to. But eventually you probably will need glasses or contacts. So, but if you do wear glasses or contacts, you definitely want to have eye insurance. Okay. Haircut, grooming. All right. These next three sections, haircut, grooming, and gym membership. Okay. This is this slide right here. Okay. If you already know how much you pay for a haircut, enter it. If you're not sure, use the U.S. averages. Okay. If you only get a haircut every 3 months, just take the haircut and divide it by 3. Okay. So I'm going to say, as you can, I really am not much for getting my hair cut very often. So we'll put it at 10 a month for me. Okay. And I usually do it once every 2 or 3 months. All right. Other grooming. Okay. medication, grooming, or personal needs. All right, I'll add another 10 there. Again, I'm not, it depends on if you really spend extra money on grooming. Okay. I'm assuming that you spend some, but use your discretion on that one. Okay. Gym membership. All right. Now, all right. If you don't work out or do it free or outside at home, you could make it at zero. Okay. It's probably not a bad idea to be doing that right now, anyways, because I wouldn't recommend going into a gym. All right. So you could put a zero there if that's the case. All right. But if you are a gym rat, then you definitely want to put, I assume 25 a month for a gym membership. There are some places that cost where it's less than that to join. All right. Others are more than that, but, you probably shouldn't be going into a gym right now anyways because of COVID, but, so I'm going to leave that at zero. But if you are someone that likes to work out a lot and likes to go to a gym, well, then include money for the gym membership. Okay. So the total cost of health there, 153 a month. All right. And most of that is going towards the health insurance. And again, if you work for an employer that provides the health insurance, that health insurance gets taken out of your paycheck. Okay. So you may not really need to factor that in when you're budgeting money. Same would also go for dental and eye insurance, by the way. All right. So, if you work for someone that if your health insurance is provided from your employer, when you actually create a budget, you may not necessarily need to include this stuff in there because it's already included in in your paycheck. Okay. All right. Now, if you are working as an accountant, chances are you you have to go to school for that. All right. So what we're going to do is for step 28, which we already did, step 29, student loan payments. I'm going to go on the low end here. Okay. We'll put it 115. Okay. Now, if you're planning on going to college, you may end up, I hate to say it, but you may end up being on the higher end here. All right. But we'll go on the low end. All right. So I'm going to put 115. But if you think that your student loans are going to be more than that, then I would put a higher figure there. Okay, I'd go more so on the higher end here. But I'm going to put 115. All right. Now, step 30 here is discretionary spending, fun stuff. Okay. Now, I've actually created it so that my discretionary spending, I actually have quite a bit, like about $500, okay, for spending on fun stuff. Okay. Now that could be including things like, going out to the movies, you could also say going out to dinner, buying, like, if you have a hobby, like spending money on that hobby, all right, or visiting a museum or something like that. Now you may, because of, during the winter months, and especially with what's going on right now, you may, instead of spending money on discretionary stuff, you could maybe save it. This will be a good time of year to start saving money because a lot of stuff that you normally would be doing, may not be. So, all right. So right now I have a few $100s set aside per month. Okay. Now, again, this is not a perfect scenario. Okay. Unfortunately, with a budget, a lot of the stuff on there is variable costs. So some months you can end up not spending much money at all, and other months you could end up spending a lot of money. You may end up having a negative balance. Okay. So, but I would recommend going into it with, be honest in how much you think you're going to be spending. All right. And if you find that the balance here is a negative, all right, I'm going to set aside $100 for discretionary spending. So yeah, you may find that, if you have a number that's in the negative, then you may want to go back and maybe cut some costs here. Okay. Chances are you may have to cut costs on, things like, maybe even how much you're saving. Okay. Or more than likely, either how much you're spending on dining out, or maybe even changing your living situation. Okay. Because that's a huge money drain as well. All right. So once you are done with this, okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go into open up the Google Docs, which I am going to go into in another video. All right. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Thank you very much.